Okay, it is finally time. We're here, everyone. It is Combine Week, so we can finally start talking about the NFL Draft. We can finally start having some news breaking, some movement. We've got NFL insiders in Indianapolis. We have our journeyman insiderer who is in Indianapolis. I will be joining him there later on today. Sage Rosenfels, Matthew Coller. This is a great week for me, Sage. How are you in Indy?
I'm doing great. Glad I made it. Looking forward to having a partner this year. Last year I was the solo correspondent for the Score North, and this year hopefully your flight makes it tonight. So looking forward to the week. Obviously a lot to do. The first athletes don't perform until Thursday. A part of those are the quarterbacks, so I'm looking forward to that. And obviously there are a lot of things that lead up until that. Coaches talking, the GMs talking. Obviously a lot of media stuff, and the players get measured and all those types of things. And so, looking forward to spend the next few days with you as we get ready for those quarterbacks throwing on Thursday night.
Well, so that's the great thing about it is I leave Thursday afternoon after the show. I'm heading back home. It tells you a little bit about the Combine, Sage, that a lot of the stuff for reporters is happening before that when all the players are talking, and Mike Zimmer and Rick Spielman are scheduled to talk on Tuesday morning. So by tomorrow's show, we'll be able to tell you everything that they said and what we could take away from that. And usually at the Combine, they have provided quite a bit of information such as Sam Bradford's knee is totally shot. We're not sure if Teddy Bridgewater's knee is going to work. And we think that Case Keenum was a fluke. That came from Mike Zimmer a couple of years ago. And also we're keeping Kevin Stefanski because I believe in loyalty came from Mike Zimmer a couple of years ago. And a contract extension from Zimmer came last year when I could not get there, as you alluded to, because of a plane. Hopefully no issues later today when I fly out to Indianapolis. But it is interesting about what the NFL Combine has become, Sage, because it isn't about me going and watching the quarterbacks throw. Media guys aren't even allowed to sit in there and watch them throw. It's much more about being there to talk with everyone in the NFL world and kind of seeing what comes out of it and learning about who's getting buzz in the draft and what free agent things might go on. All the agents are there. The Vikings are going to meet with all the agents for, Kirk Cousins and Dalvin Cook and so forth. And we'll talk about that a little later. But it is amazing what the NFL Combine is now as opposed to even when you were in the NFL Combine.
Yeah, the NFL Combine, for one, the Super Bowl is sort of the end of the year grand finale, and the fans and a lot of the players and celebrities come in. It's this whole huge event. The Combine is not that at all, but it also is the only sort of unique total NFL event. When I mean NFL, it's the people working for the teams. It's a lot of the trainers will be here. The equipment manager will be here. Of course, all the coaches, most of the scouts and GMs and owners are in and out or whatever. But the actual work itself, the real, sort of what we think of as the Combine, the 40-yard dash and all the drills, those things you might as well just watch on TV. Because, Rich Eisen does a great job of, sort of talking about each of the players and different things. And when you actually go to it in the dome itself, it's extremely boring. It's like watching paint dry. So the most important stuff for us is going to be that, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and do all that, sort of media stuff beforehand as it leads into why all those people are here.
Yeah, a lot of times I've walked out of there when I've covered it and my plane worked, feeling like I had a much better sense of what was going to happen with the Vikings offseason and what was going to happen with the Vikings draft, and also just who these guys are. I try to pace myself throughout the NFL offseason where it's like, okay, the Super Bowl is over. Now we sort of pick things apart. What happened to the Vikings? What's their offseason approach? And then this is our opportunity to dive headfirst into who all these prospects are. And I have a fun game for us later in the hour to help people get educated on a few of these prospects, and you as well, because I know for this week, it's the same with you, where you haven't, gone in headfirst and tried to figure out who all these prospects are yet, because the draft isn't until April. So now we'll start to get a sense who lands where and where they should be in their mocks and who the surprise players might be. And there's always great stories that come out of the NFL Combine. I mean, like Shaquille Griffin, the guy with 1.5 arms who ran one of the fastest 40s for a linebacker ever and ends up getting drafted. So watching guys emerge from the Combine and all the news that kind of leaks out as executives and scouts talk to different reporters and things like that. That's the fun part of the NFL Combine, much more than sitting there and watching over and over, hey, this offensive guard, he's got really great hips on TV. I mean, that doesn't do anything for me.
Well, listen, the whole thing, this Combine, but it really starts with the Senior Bowl. The Senior Bowl is the first shot for those fans whose teams are already out of the playoffs. What do we have coming back, or what are our shots next year? And the Combine is sort of another aspect of that, a big aspect. And of course, then there's the draft. But for each of these teams that are trying to win a Super Bowl, who are the players that we could possibly add to our roster? So this is a sort of the beginning of this interesting process as teams contemplate what happened last year. A lot of coaches have been hired, people have moved around. Okay, now let's go out and try to find some players. And of course, this Combine is a major part of that, and it's grown into a much bigger event. I was in school, was not on TV. It was much simpler. The Senior Bowl, I think only the game was on TV. The practices weren't on TV either. So obviously the NFL wants to make as much money as possible. This is one of those ways of how can we make money? As I said, the actual event itself, not the behind the scenes stuff, but the event itself. That stuff is great TV, and Rich Eisen does a great job.
So you actually helped yourself at the NFL Combine. First of all, they measured your hands, which were very large, and so you had all the measurables. You're tall, naturally, but you also ran a good 40 and had good athletic numbers, and that helped you. How does it look different to you from when you were there to now, including the dress wear?
Well, the dress is completely different. My t-shirt, everyone was swimming in their t-shirts. It was just those, simple cotton, somebody went to Walmart and bought some $12 t-shirts or whatever they were and threw, a number on it. I mean, that's sort of what it was. And now, of course, it's, skin tight and guys are wearing, anything to make them as quick and as mobile as possible. And yeah, I think we just had shorts, just regular sort of baggy, shorts last year, but I'm guessing a lot of the drills are probably very similar in all, the measurements and the throwing, the different routes and things that they do. I imagine a lot of that stuff has pretty much stayed the same.
Now, they are adding to the quarterbacks and what they throw, smoke routes and fades. So they want to see guys get rid of the ball really quickly, and then they want to see them throw fades to the back of the end zone, which I would add for NFL teams, little nugget for you. Fades are bad most of the time. I know it helped the Vikings, but they're usually statistically bad, even though they won the game against New Orleans.
I think somebody wants to just sort of laugh at Mina Kimes because she has on her Twitter feed that she hates the fade. It's like the end of her existence. It's like the thing that just annoys the heck out of her. The goal line fade. So what, we're going to see if a quarterback can get the ball and throw it to a spot in the corner, just like in the movies, because that's what the goal line fade is all about. So, it's interesting. It's because almost all these throws. There's not much like natural reaction, but I think a lot of these scouts, they just want to see how guys move, like just truly, like how do they move? Do they move like an athlete? How do they shift their weight? And those types of things. Not always about how fast you are, how what your times are and things. Sometimes it's just how you carry your weight as well. And it's an interesting thing, the NFL Combine, all these people going there to see what these athletes are, but they don't actually play the game at all. When you critique them.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Yeah. And every year there are the great athletic freaks that end up fooling people into drafting them way higher than they should. And then everyone is disappointed. Now you are helping out Anthony Gordon, who is one of these draft prospects who's going to be throwing there. So what is that like? I mean, working with a guy who is going through this, something that you went through, and, trying to make an impression, because he's a guy that's getting a little bit of buzz, especially when, someone like Pro Football Focus dives into his numbers and they show him as an intriguing prospect who may go day 2 or day 3.
Yeah. So, my aspect of working with Anthony was less of the physical side of it. My partner, Will Hewlett, he's sort of like the throwing coach. And the best way to describe it is, Will teaches you how to hit, have a nice swing and how to hit the golf ball. I'm the one who teaches you how to play the course. And so when he went to the Senior Bowl, he had learned sort of a basic version of the West Coast offense, protections and fronts and cover, and how we call pass patterns and things like that. And some of the other offenses too, like the Norv Turner number system that I was also in. So I had to sort of give him all this information. So when he went there, he actually, understood sort of what NFL teams do, because most NFL teams do a lot of the similar things. And so he would have this, maybe almost a year, like it's almost like he took off that red shirt. Because the coaches when he comes in for those meetings and they're talking offense, he had Darrell Bevell in the Senior Bowl. Well, man, I knew that offense. I knew Darrell's offense. So the fact that he could, day one sort of walk into that meeting, for those practices, he could call those plays. You have a week to basically learn an offense. You have a couple of days to go out and practice. It's a really tough situation. So anyway, the combine thing for me is more the mental side, but Will, my man Will, he's going to be there also, sort of getting them loose a couple of nights and so they can throw a couple of times, and of course hopefully puts on a good performance out there on Thursday.